staring at me from the TV tower. I want roses in my garden bower, dig? Royal babies, rubies must now replace aborted strangers in mud. These mutants, blood meal for the plant that's plowed.
Oh, I'm going the wrong way.
Other jaw reveals incest.
You always say you won't go away, but I know what it always has been. I've been here before. The you walk into the room with your pencil in your hand.
It's time to break the bank. Linda goes, well, I was going to stop by the deli to see if they were hiring. Well, since someone killed the Iranian supreme leader, we'll be having party size Totinas. I'm like a Mexican kid hyped up on a bunch of sugar. You just walk to this section over here. It smelled like a Neil Young concert. Skunk. Part, and when you're shopping by the produce, and Who's Crying Now by Journey comes on. Then you think about moments of high school. And back there, it smelled like a Cheech and Chong Comic-Con. Finally, Fiber. The other day, when I was sitting on the toilet, it was like pushing a softball through a garden hose. Right upside. Melanie over here. Beggars can't be choosers.
When you love me, I can't get enough. Benefit bills is good getting used. Oh, you just keep on using me until you use me up. Hey, little girl. Pro. It's got.
Oh yeah, that one's very stable. Oh, awesome. Yeah. Yeah, that's cool.
HD and 4K if I'm doing video.
Right, you're taking like snapshots or something?
Yeah, I'm just getting property shots.
So it's returning to this location.
Yep.
Okay. You can kind of hear it.
I can download it while
Oh, it's way up there.
it's flying itself.
Yeah, I see it. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I see it. Yeah. 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 Really? That's awesome. $1,000 drone. Wow. Yeah, he uses the drone. It's a DJ something drone. $1,000 drone. It can return and go on flight patterns, but he can bring it back whenever he wants. It'll follow the same flight pattern from the same GPS coordinates. It also takes photos, and also he can get video off his phone, and it has an SD card. DJI or something like that. It looks pretty cool. Pretty stable drone. About the same size as my Temu drone, which is an E99 whatever. EF something. But I haven't been able to explore that one. Mine has 2 cameras. His has 1, but his camera moves. So mine's like a $40 or $60 drone. It could have been a $100 drone that they sold it for like half price off of Temu. But I don't know where he got his. He uses his for work, so he can look at the roofs and take photos of roofs. What in the world? And then we got this turtle right here. found some loopholes in the JFK assassination. There are two things that may prove Oswald is innocent. The wound on his head is one proof. I'll tell you why. The second one is the FBI agent that arrived at the interview when Fritz, he was a detective, Fritz was interviewing him. It could have been done by J.D. Tippit. J.D. Tippit was killed, or they say the president was assassinated. Well, if J.D. Tippit did it and someone else clocked in for him at work, looked like him, and then he did the assassination, you have to do research on J.D. Tippit and see if he was a sharpshooter like Oswald was. But Oswald was questioned, he was questioned by Fritz, but his wife, Marina Oswald, was questioned before the assassination. An FBI agent was trying to get a hold of her, and he saw that as harassment. So whenever that FBI agent showed up in the interview, there is documented proof that he was yelling at the FBI agent saying, why were you harassing my wife? He was separated from her at that point. Now, another thing too is how he responded to the Texas theater. He basically got up really quick when the officers got there and pulled his gun on officers. So he obviously didn't know they were officers, or he flipped out, and they beat him at that point. He didn't surrender, but yet it just seems kind of very unstable. But then again, J.D. Tippit was killed moments after that. And why would a person that just shot the president get in a scuffle with another officer in Dallas? And when he's trying to get to the Texas theater and a movie theater, it seemed like to me he had $13 on him and some change, and he was going to use that to Greyhound to Mexico City, because there was some connections that he had gone to Mexico City, and then from Mexico City he was going to try to get to Cuba and be a hero. That's a possibility, but it doesn't make sense why he would jump up and pull his gun out in the theater and then expect not to be shot at that point. But then again, they did say he acted very calm. Probably. See, Ruby was probably maybe assigned to kill him, because Ruby had just checked on a Western Union moments before he walked into the basement and shot him when he was being transferred. It all just seemed to work out just perfect, just too perfect. And also, those 3 shots were pretty difficult too. So, and there is a back into the left thing. If it was done by the CIA, then they had to find someone dependent on, not the CIA. The government didn't want to admit of their own assassinating their own president. So they had to find someone, and he was a great patsy because he had open, not video, but no, I think there is film. There's actually footage of him protesting, claiming that he's a communist. He also defected as a United States Marine to the Soviet Union. And he knew one of the FBI agents that was harassing or talking to Marina Oswald, his wife, in the interview, whenever they were interviewing him after, they got him for J.D. Tippit, supposedly. Now, they did arrest him in the theater, but there could have been someone following him the entire day, all the way to the point where he went off. And now, here's some things that make him look guilty. He did leave that day during work, but that was also right after the assassination of the president. People probably did take the day off for work. Even Ruby shut his titty bars down for a couple of days, because a lot of people did. Neiman Marcus, they shut down their stores a couple of days after after JFK was killed. So I don't know. It does seem weird that he would pull his gun out on some cops in a theater. That's a certain death. Yeah, that's certain death. Even back then. But they didn't kill him. They needed him alive to interview him. And Fritz went into confession. He never confessed. So we don't know for sure. But they did beat him up pretty bad. There's photos of it, of the after, of the scar. And then there's photos of where they hit him on the bridge of the nose. So he was flipped out that they were coming and getting him at the theater. It wasn't like he was found there, though. That was the thing. And he was found there very quickly. And then there was a report that he was acting weird at a shoe store. How does someone act weird at a shoe store? Supposedly he was like turning around in circles, and a cop would go by and he would turn. It's weird. But I saw this thing on it the other day. And then supposedly a long time ago, he was a spy for Japan or something, or he had slept with a Japanese spy, like this female Japanese spy a long time ago. I mean, a long time before it happened, years before it happened. He was a perfect patsy at that point, but that's what he said he was when they interviewed him. And there was a blanket that they found, but there was no gun in it. And they went back to another lady's house. His house was actually in Irving, where his wife was staying with a friend not too far from where everything went down. So she could have been involved too. Marina could have been involved as well. And they were housing her for that moment so that he would be the patsy. He kind of made himself a patsy in a way by being this open communist. It's an interesting subject. The J.D. Tippit thing, it doesn't hold water, kind of. I'll tell you why. If you watch the Escape of the Mouse play-by-play of Oswald, if you watch it play-by-play, you'll realize that when Oswald left the Texas Book Depository building, when he left that building, he ran into a police officer that stopped him and questioned him. The manager approved that he did work there, so allowed him to leave. He was leaving. The manager knew he was leaving. That's what's interesting. So why would he get in a scuffle with Tippit? He was already stopped by an officer already. All he had to do was just explain. I left the book depository. You guys already stopped me. There was no reason for him to shoot J.D. Tippit. See, what the CIA failed to do, who most likely killed JFK, what they failed to do was they failed to act properly, or they failed to put on the proper facade. And the J.D. Tippit slaying was because probably J.D. Tippit did it, meaning J.D. Tippit was the lone gunman. So how it would work was whoever planned the assassination, whether it was mafioso, CIA, or Cuba, they killed J.D. Tippit because he may have been the lone gunman. So they switched them somehow and put J.D. Tippit. Now remember, when I say the FBI agent getting in a kind of like an argument with Lee Harvey Oswald, it was because Fritz, the main detective guy on the homicide and bureau, or it was a homicide and burglary bureau in Dallas, he allowed the FBI agent to go into the room during the interrogation of Oswald. So when Oswald was upset with the FBI agent, it had nothing to do with the assassination. It had to do with a prior investigation that was done with Marina way before the assassination, like weeks before or so, or months before. He had said, why did you harass my wife months before all of this, basically, is what he was saying. Why were you harassing her beforehand when she's protected by the embassy, by the American embassy, because she was a Russian citizen that was becoming an American citizen because she was already married to Oswald. He wanted her to be left alone. Now, the photo that was in her shoe was a photo that Oswald was holding the gun, which Oswald claimed during the investigation to be a fake photo, to be a photo that was superimposed, his face was superimposed on that. He claimed that. So if J.D. Tippit did it, they had to kill him off. Then they had to kill off Oswald, which they used another person to do that. They used Ruby. They may have tried to kill him in the Texas Book Depository, but he may have given up the gun. See, they said he pulled the gun on him. He may have pulled the gun out and showed that he had a gun on him, or threw it down or something. Supposedly he tried to shoot and they grabbed the gun. There were audience members there and people on the balcony, so they would have been able to it would have been good to kill him right then. There'd been a better time to kill him, and that probably was the time to move him. Okay, this is how they made it look like right now. It's still under investigation. Right now, in the 48 Hours, which was a documentary that was released on YouTube, the last 48 hours of Lee Harvey Oswald, it came down to Jack Ruby being at the Western Union right outside the jail. An officer walks up, because they're proving they could follow the patterns of the officer. He walks up from the basement, up the incline, out on the street, as Ruby is led in, meaning Ruby walked right past him. There's also photos of Jack Ruby. There's photos of Jack Ruby among all the media. You got the media people there, you got the police there, people that are allowed to be there, and then Jack Ruby's just back in the corner hanging out in these photos. They have the photos. You can see the photos. And everyone has a place. You got this media person from NBC News. You got another guy from ABC News. You got another guy that's an officer. You got another guy that maybe is FBI or Secret Service. Then you got Jack Ruby just sitting there kind of like smiling. You know, it's like, what's Jack Ruby? Why is he involved in all this all of a sudden? Were they that poor in security? Anyway, he had his suit on. So he had a suit on. He looked like a reporter maybe. And he walks right down in there. And they had no security at that point. And they couldn't find Fritz's car when he comes out. They're looking for his car. They're supposed to just put him in the car real quick. And why was he wearing a bulletproof vest? Another reason, right? He wasn't wearing a bulletproof vest. You know how many killers? You know, nowadays, that person would be wearing a bulletproof vest because they know he'd been killed. But they didn't have any kind of protection on him. They had bulletproof vests back then. They also had bubble tops on cars. Why didn't the Secret Service have a bubble top on the car? There's a lot of different loose holes. There's a lot of loose holes in the JFK assassination. Tons of them. And here's a lot of them too. All of a sudden there was an FBI guy there and Oswald's arguing with him. He like knew one of the CIA guys or something, you know. It looks very strange. And then he tells the media that he's a patsy. And all of a sudden J.D. Tippit, out of the many officers he could have killed that day, they passed by one of them leaving the Texas Book Depository building, right? He didn't kill that guy. Why J.D. Tippit? Because most likely J.D. Tippit was killed by the conspirators. And Oswald was also killed probably by conspirators too. And most likely Jack Ruby was wired money through the Western Union. He was checking on it to make sure he went through before he did the hit. And that would be his lunch. I figured something out too. That wound that Oswald had is a big, big evidence in possible conspiracy. Because he pulled a gun out on cops that may not have been, I don't know, he'd have to prove if they were cops that got him or if it was Secret Service. Now, another thing too, the cops are probably there, but the Secret Service probably tried to, get him. Now, he was calm, right? He was hit on the head. He was hit on the head very hard, probably almost to the point where he might have been put into a coma, or that he was had a concussion. He was suffering from a concussion, which will change your behavior. A concussion can change your behavior. It can make you be calm for a little while so that your head can heal. That can explain his behavior change, the concussion that he got from whoever hit him in the theater. Remember, they don't have video of it back then. There may have been cops in the theater, but we don't know who apprehended him at the theater. The person that actually got him. May have been Secret Service that got him, or CIA, when they went in. And listen, they said there were 16 cops that went in. Those were surrounding the outside breaches of the theater. The ones that went in and got him probably were not dressed as cops. That's why he pulled the gun out, and that's why he was hit and possibly tried to murder him in the Texas Book Depository building. He wasn't. He was able to say he was a patsy. He was able to say the photo was superimposed. No one has proof that it was in his wife's shoe. It was never turned up whenever the wife and the mother visited Oswald in during the jail visit. It was never taken out of her shoe. It was only said it was folded and put into her shoe. There were more than one copies. There were copies made. There were glossy photos, copies of that photo of Oswald made during the interview. There were multiple copies. How could they get multiple copies back then in 1963? Did they have a Xerox machine? There's another loophole too. There, in the investigation, they show that there's multiple copies of that. They might could have, but they had it nearly, he only lived for 2 days after the assassination of JFK. It was like barely 2 days. Less than 48 hours, he'd be dead after, the shots were fired upon JFK, killing JFK. Here's how things kind of also don't really make sense. So they never tell Oswald that he's charged with the assassination of the president. The media does, because it leaks, right, to the media that he was charged. They never tell him that, probably because of how they want the investigation. They want him to claim. People sometimes, to be great, will claim things. So Fritz was trying to use every opportunity to get a confession from him. They didn't want him killed at the theater, even though he was hit in the head. They wanted him killed at a certain time. So the circumstantial evidence, here's some weird things. There's a lot of weird things. There was a ID found in Oswald his wallet that matched a similar ID that he already had with a different name. That name was the same name that he used. It was an alias name that was put on a registration for the Italian rifle that he used to kill the president supposedly with. That ID that he used to order the rifle was still in his wallet. I mean, we're talking about a person that got through boot camp in the United States Marine as a sharpshooter, even though he said he was a marksman. He didn't have to tell him he was a sharpshooter at that point. Right, he wasn't going to tell him that. He didn't want to tell them exactly what they wanted to hear. But they happened to find the ID in his wallet and say, this ID is related to this gun that you have, a photo of you. And here's the stupidest thing. The photo is of him holding the Italian rifle. This is the glossy copies that they made 8x10 after the wife supposedly brought it in her shoe to give over as evidence to the Dallas Police Department, who was conducting the investigation. So the photo is him holding the Italian rifle and the registration papers. Whenever you buy a rifle, that's the first thing you do. You take a photo of yourself in the backyard, or you get your wife to take the photo of you holding an Italian rifle with the documentations that you bought it. That's proof enough that this is a very weird investigation, that this is a very weird assumption. Very, very weird. So let's talk about the motivation of that. So Oswald, why did you take this photo of you holding an Italian rifle that you killed JFK with and the registration papers? Is there any particular reason why you took that photo? I don't think you could come up with a good reason. Now, you could say that was a manifesto, the glossy photos that he supposedly claimed that was superimposed. Why didn't he ever confess to it if he had a manifesto? Most people that have a manifesto, they plan to confess, right? They have a manifesto for a certain reason. He never confessed, so the manifesto doesn't make as much sense. The registration papers to the rifle that had the alias name on it, that was not his name, which that paperwork for the rifle had an alias name. That alias name was found in his wallet and an ID, a fake ID that he had made that was very real. It was a very real fake ID. That may have been the reason why the FBI agent was claiming an investigation on Marina because it could have been connected to her in some way, but it doesn't solve the photo, because the photo that supposedly has him holding an Italian rifle with the gun registration or the rifle registration, would that rifle registration say Oswald on it, or would it say the alias name on it? Why would he take a photo of a crime? Because it's a crime to order a gun with a false ID, and that could go to the FBI maybe. Especially as someone that claims to be a communist. Was this a photo that he was going to give to Cuba? Was it a photo? And why would he take a photo of that? It seems odd. I remember one of the names on the fake ID, it was Hilde, H-I-L-D-E. That was found in his wallet. It was also registered to the gun. Now, was it the same registration, rifle registration, that was in the photo? You can't see that, okay? So if it was one big weird manifesto or something like that, something that represented like a manifesto, just the photo, because he didn't write a manifesto claiming that he was a communist and he was going to kill the president, run off to Cuba and be a hero. He didn't write anything like that. It was just a photo. It was a photo of an Italian rifle, and it was a photo of the registration papers for the gun. People don't do that. People don't take photos of that, especially if they're planning to use that gun in an evil way. And why would he still have the ID? He must have been very confused. I think he was in his 20s. So when they asked him about it, he just said he didn't know. That's what he said. He goes, I don't know. This doesn't make any sense to me, is what he said. Now, here is the answers in the investigation. He claimed he didn't have a rifle. Marina must have turned against him and claimed that he did have a rifle. And he kept it in like a neighbor's garage in a blanket. They did find a blanket that was tied up. But there was also claims that there were curtain rods in that. And then he was traveling around with curtain rods. I guess to bring curtain rods into the home. This was in the investigation. So there were curtain rods in the back seat. He claimed it was basically just a lunch. In his mind, he only was carrying a lunch in a paper sack. So that was in the investigation too, because a neighbor was taking him to work. Some other guy was taking him to work, and he put something in the back seat of his car. And I don't know if it was curtain rods. The guy said he didn't know if it was curtain rods. He didn't see a gun, a rifle. When I say gun, a rifle. He also had a 38 that was found, and he had 38 bullets in his pocket. So he could have done it because of that 38 that puts him guilty. Because he had a gun on him, so he was a man with a gun, that kind of thing. But they didn't find him with the rifle, so it's not going to ever be solved. Well, why do you use the name Hilde? I don't know the full name of the alias, but Hilde was the name on Lee Harvey Oswald's fake ID and registered to the Italian rifle. So there's some analyzation on would have Oswald used the word Hilde or the name Hilde. And if Secret Service did it, would they use the word Hilde? They could investigate, names are everything. So they can investigate that name, Hilde, and see if it ties to him. But they can still investigate who Oswald was and the way that he thought. If they're trying to create a patsy, they're going to do it over time. Now, you're going to try to find motivation on why would the CIA want Lee, why would the CIA want John F. Kennedy killed? Why would the mafia want John F. Kennedy killed? And why would Cuba want him killed? If those are some of the conspirators, you can do an investigation on that to find out. That might relate to the name Hilde. And of course, an Italian rifle. Why wouldn't he get an M14? Could he not? Now, they may not have been able to buy M14s. Why not a deer rifle? Yeah. Why the Italian rifle? It was lightweight. It wasn't much more powerful than a 22. It wasn't a real powerful rifle. It was bolt action too. I mean, him being a Marine, he'd come up with something better than that. But maybe he knew something about rifles. It obviously did the job. if it was proven. You can also, we can't go and do the proof on the bullets being found and also the bullets that tore through John F. Kennedy's head and neck. That can only be done by a criminal investigation that wouldn't be able to be reinvestigated now. I mean, it only been able to be investigated by, you could say criminal science. Really what it is forensics. Criminal science is a fictional title. There is no real criminal science. There's forensic. Now, there is criminal science, but they would have used the word forensics is the words they use. Criminal forensics, if they even use that. Criminal science is a television show. CSI is a television show. But the forensics would have led to ultimately proving that the Italian rifle has what's called rifling at the end of it. They can recover those bullets. Those bullets could have been recovered. Those bullets would have to be reinvestigated and seen if it connects to that Italian rifle. And if so, that may have been one of the reasons why that rifle was used in the investigation or in the conspiracy, because it had distinct marks on it, as opposed to something like an M14 or something a Marine would have used, which would have been an M14 or something similar to that, or a Springfield even from World War II may have been even a better rifle in a certain, to be an exact shot. So I have done my own research on Hilde, Hilde. It's Nordic, possibly German, means battle or war. Would have Oswald known that? And would he have been able to look that up at the time? Would he be able to find out what that meant? Because whoever used that word knew something about language. And that was on Oswald's fake ID. Now, we ask ourselves, could have Oswald looked up that word? Well, he worked at the Texas Book Depository building, so he worked for kind of like, they were mostly textbooks for schools. Would he be able to find that word there? Did he have a library pass? He didn't have access to the internet. They didn't have internet back in 1963. That's probably a code. Hilde means war in a German Nordic language. It wasn't German. He did have Russian connection, but there's a difference between the Russian language and the German language. The person that came up with that name, Hilde, could have got confused that he did not defect to Germany. He defected to Russia, not Germany. Germany, it's a German Nordic word, Hilde. It's not Russian. That's sloppy, whoever came up with that. And then put that into his wallet, most likely. Oswald would have used a Russian name. Sorry, I got the name mixed up. It was Heidel. It was Hidell. Alec Heidel was the alias. I got it mixed up with another name, sorry. Heidel. Now we got to do research on Heidel to find out if that's connected to a Russian name. I don't know where you get it from. All right. And we go all the way back to the JFK assassination and the word Heidel. Heidel is not a name. Bull. It comes from somewhere. It's saying on the internet, it's not giving you an etymology of the name on purpose. It only goes to Alec J. Heidel. There is no Hilde in it. That was probably done. There are no mistakes, but it was Heidel. And it's saying that cannot exist as a name. It's only a made-up name. That's not true. All names, even made-up names, I know this from being a writer, are going to be connected to another surname because of foreign languages are so different and it would connect. But not on the internet, not if you use Google. This is Google's lone gunman internet. So that name relates to something. That, my friend, is how you find out who the killer was or where it came from. That name is probably very similar to Hildy, but it's Heidel, and it sounds to me like a certain type of culture. Now, Jack Ruby, we know his past. I think we know who killed who killed JFK? Well, who killed Jesus? A lot of people became famous that day when JFK died. Jack Ruby. We know who's associated. Abraham Zapruder. Yeah. And Oswald, or also known as Heidel. I don't know. Just a theory. So there we go. Today is the National Take Your Flask to Work Day. And Mr. Bibble detected some caffeine in the chocolate-covered mice. So he's detecting it, probably from the edible. They finally got it legally addictive.
You don't dare stop or come alive, y'all. Give me what you just don't get. Let's do it, but don't stop, y'all.
Got one at Sweet Garden coming your way.
Thought I was someone.
Andy Warhol's like, oh yeah, oh wow, I like this song. Oh cool, yeah. Oh yeah, this is a nice song. His kitty is. What will tomorrow's kitty be? I'll be having the egg, this, with on it.